Hello, for the UcamX version 2019-08 release notes, we created two videos, one for each of the two features that we introduced in this version, one being the keyboard shortcuts that you can now define yourself, as well as the plain focus indicator. These videos that will follow are also available as separate videos in the training section. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Hello and welcome to this video on the UcamX keyboard shortcuts. UcamX has a number of built-in keyboard shortcuts that you should be aware of. You can see them in the menus. On the job, for example, we have a Control N for new, Control O for open, Control S for save, and a Control Z for quit. Under the Edit menu, we see that we have a Control X, C, and V that have to do with the clipboard, and the undo and the redo key are mapped to F5 and F6. In the aperture menu, we also have some shortcuts under Create, Alt-C, Edit, Alt-V, Alt-D, etc. Those are visible in the menus. We also have a number of them that are not visible, but that are predefined. Like you can hit the I key and it will zoom in, the O key will zoom out. And with T, you can get from anywhere always to the total view. We also have the H key that is related to these zooms and which will toggle through the history of the zoom locations and zoom levels. Then we have the snap modes. Those keys, that's actually a double key. So I'm gonna magnify this area for a moment so you can see this clear. So if I do SP, you see how the snap mode changes to snap to point. SG for grid, SI for intersection, SL for line. So the letter that comes together that is done after the S, so you hit first S, then this letter, is the one that is shown here in the drop down. So, and for snap, etc. So those are ones that are built into the software. Let's go back to our regular view. But we can also define our own keyboard actions. Like one of the ones that I've defined is, for example, I mapped a script to the Control T combination. And what that does, it gives me the total view, but it makes it centered. I also have some shortcuts for activating all the layers, for example. I can do an Alt-Shift All. And so we don't need to keep the A is just the regular A, so we don't have to do Shift or anything or Caps Lock. I have Alt-Shift Z for zeroing out the activations. I did not use the Alt-Shift R for resetting, maybe, because I'm using that to activate my route layer. So I have other ones for Alt-Shift-C for copper, Alt-Shift-M for masks, and you can imagine that then there will also be an S for silks and a D for drums. Okay, so those are ones that I've created for the job editor, and I made them all Alt-Shift. Alt meaning activate, but not necessarily, because I can also do Alt-Shift-H to hide all of the layers at the same time. Okay, so also a number of them I created for the selections. Like I can do a Shift A, and that will select all of the features. A zeroing out by Alt Z will reset the selections. I can also do a toggle. I created that as well with a Shift T, which toggles the selections. One that I sometimes find handy to do is a quick select overlap, for example, between the masks and the silk. So I can do a Shift O, and that will do a select overlap, and it will show me very clearly which silk features are overlapping the mask features as a quick physical check. All right, so how is this done? So we are actually created in UCam by means of running a script. You can install your own key actions. I'm going to magnify this so that it becomes clearer. So we are actually defining install key action. That is the script command, and then in there the first argument is the combination of keys that you're going to use. So for example, to do my activate all layers, Alt plus Shift plus A, and then the command, these are actually hyperscript commands. So the I defined a number of these in here, and I created some for the job editor. I made them all with Alt Shift A, Alt Shift. The aperture manager, I preceded them with Alt because the built-in ones also start with Alt, so I figured I used the same ones. So I created one for clean apertures and replaced by aperture by current. And then for the edit window, we have that control, the Control T, and I have a Control M for the toggle view mode, which I didn't show you yet. That wouldn't have worked because I deliberately made a typo in there. So the and I also created a Control D, which deletes the selections and at the same time cleans out the aperture list, right? So it's kind of like a step up of the regular delete. Now, unlike the built-in delete function, this one does not ask for any confirmation if you're doing this on multiple layers at the same time. So be careful with if you are going to use this one. Then for the selections, I made a Shift S, a Shift R for deselecting, a Shift O for overlaps, and a Shift T for toggle selections. So, and then you can go even further. Like I created there's an example over here. I have a little script that adjusts the route external. Like if I take this particular job and I look at my route layer, let's do a total view here. So the what I want to do, if we look at our route, as we well know, we can go here and let it show us where the current starting point is. So not only do I want to change the starting point, I also wanted to extend a little bit. So I can do that by running a script that is Control Shift E, and I have to click on the corner, and basically that's what this script does. So you can create your own functions and tie those to the keyboard shortcuts as well, right? So we're doing this, again, these are basically, you can create these with the Hyperscript editor. If you're not familiar with this Hyperscript editor, you can contact your support team. Your local support team will be happy to help you out in defining them, some functions for you. The other thing as well is that how do you get these functions to go into UCam? Well, depending on when you're viewing this video, you may already have the shortcut to this defined, but if not, then you can go to the shortcut that starts up UCam and you go to properties, and then over here, and again, let me zoom in, magnify this, you basically add this line over here. So -VHS colons, and then the location of your script. In my case, I made it C Ucamco scripts startup.vhs. That may well be the location that you will see, again, depending on when you are looking at this video. All right, so you add that in, and then the let's go back over here, back to our UCam, to our VHS editor. Now, if you're not familiar with Hyperscript, but you still want to create already something, I'll give you a quick tip. So for example, it would be nice, we have this function over here that does a show all layers, right? So maybe we can create a shortcut for that. Well, we can use the built-in tool that we have in the script editor. We do a record, and then we run the function, and that will tell us what the function is that we need. So I'm going to stop the recorder, and what I need is this, all right? So I just do a Control C, I go over here, and maybe what I'll do in my over here, I'm already pasting it, and then I'm gonna just grab some of my code here. I'll just do Control C, and I'm pasting this in front of it. Now I'm gonna go and give this F for full color, for the lack of a better description, I guess. We are then closing out the command and do it with adding in the quotes, close bracket, and semicolon. So now I can run this, and that will be effective immediately, but I should also save this if I want to keep this for the next time UCam starts. So again, Alt-Shift Z to zoom to Alt-Shift H to hide everything, and now I can do Alt-Shift F to put every layer in a color. So the command that I added in is again just a regular command, so a hyperscript command. You can also, instead of using commands, you can use script, and then you just point it to where your script is located. So this Control T, I called that one my view zoom total centered .vhs, and I'm putting it in the same spot where my startup is. But you can, if your scripts are in another location, just refer to that. In the same way over here, we also have the other script that does that adjust route start external. So if you're interested in a copy of this script, just contact your local support department. They will be happy to provide it to you. That concludes the video on the UcamX keyboard shortcuts. Thank you for your interest. Bye. Hello and welcome to this video on plane focus. Now, plane focus, what do we mean with that? Well, in UCam, we're referring to the colors that we're using as planes. So what that means is that each one of those planes can have a focus, and let's demonstrate that for a moment. For example, if we are doing a query object, then normally that's done on the red layer. So, or plane 1, that shows us that. If we have an other layer active, and we would go over there, we don't get any results because it's not the layer, or it's not the plane that has focus. Now we could of course switch over and do the query object again, but we can also simply hit the 2 key, the number 2, and now we can do a query object there, and it will get the results of the green layer, the plane 2 layer, and we don't get any results on the red layer. Yeah, similar fashion, it's the first 3 colors where we do this focus on. So if we have a third color, like plane 3 in this case, and we do a query object, if I pull over there, I'm getting actually the information on the blue pad, and if I hit 1 again, I'm getting the information on the red pad. So these focuses are useful for the query object function, but they also play a role in the measure function. And how does it play a role there? Well, if we take, for example, a layer, a copper layer, and we take our drill file, and we put one in plane 1, red in my case, and the drill in plane 3, then if we want to measure the ring, measuring the ring in UCam, you do that from going from the smallest object, which is the drill hole, to the largest object, which is the pad. So with plane 1 having the focus, I can't measure the ring because I cannot get to the pad. You could again, of course, switch the planes over like this, and then you can do your measure like this, and you get your ring value. Yeah, but again, why switch over if you can simply switch the focus? So I'm gonna make the drill now my focus, which is plane 3. I hit the 3 key, and now I get access to my hole, and I can drag my mouse over until my pad lights up, and I let go, and I get my ring without switching back and forth. So how do we know that which color has focus? Well, we actually show that in the job editor. If I magnify that area for a moment, I can do 1, and you see we are showing in 1, we are showing these dashes next to the number. So 1, 2, 3. Again, 1, 2, 3. That's how we show that. And that is what we mean with plane focus. Thanks for your time. Goodbye.